In today's episode of Small Island Minecraft Survival, we will be finding every wood type in the overworld and making 2 manual storage systems. I hope that you enjoy the video. The first thing that I did was run to the dock that I made in the last episode and got in a boat to start exploring. Because of the limited exploring that I had already done, I had 4 wood types ticked off of the list. Almost straight away, I found an acacia village. After running through and looting it, I got back in the boat and continued exploring. The next thing that I found was an island with a mangrove swamp, savanna, jungle, and plains biome. Out of all of these different biomes, the wood type that I had not already gathered was mangrove, so I gathered that and went back out exploring. I then found a ruined portal, but the loot inside of it wasn't that great. So I got back in the boat and continued exploring. After travelling down a river, I found an illager outpost. Unfortunately, the river was not connected to it, so I had to dig a channel. I was hoping to find an armor trim inside of the outpost, so I was quite excited to find it. As I was bridging over to the outpost, I was knocked off and then killed by an illager. In this series, I plan to build a museum that has a room for every life. For example, with this first life, I would say how I died and then write how many days that I lived for. If this seems interesting to you, then subscribe to the channel so that you'll be notified when I start to build the museum. When I got back to the outpost, I picked up my loot and I managed to make it inside of the outpost. Unfortunately, there was no armor trim, so I finished my first life for nothing. After running out of the outpost, I made it to the village right next to it. I ran through and grabbed all the crops and workstations so that I could use them later. I then spotted a cherry grove off in the distance, so I ran over to it and ticked off another wood type. Eventually, I found a Badlands biome. In the Badlands, there was another outpost, and with the practice that I had from the first one, I managed to break in without dying. Again, there was no armor trim, so raiding it was a bit of a waste of time. After running away, I found a desert temple. Inside, there was some golden apples and saddles, so I made sure to grab them, then I started to make my way back home. When I got home, I had to create some new chests because they were all already full, and then emptied out my inventory. I'm really starting to need to make storage rooms, but I don't have the wood types that I want for it, so I went back out to find them. As I was out exploring, I found a village, so I looted it for all of the workbenches and then left. I then found another village, so I did the same and left. After a while of exploring, I found spruce, and I gladly grabbed it as I will be needing it for the storage rooms that I make. Near the taiga biome, I found 2 ocean monuments that were next to each other. When I had a look at them on Chunkbase, I found that they were 240 blocks away from each other. I would appreciate if you told me if I can build a double guardian farm with these. They are both on the same Z coordinate, thanks for helping. I then sought out a dark forest to get the last wood type. After chopping down the last tree I needed, I headed home happy. I started chopping down trees, which took me forever. And then I started mining for copper. Whilst caving, I died. It took me a long time to find my loot. And because I died, I decided that I may as well head back to the surface and start working on my new manual storage rooms. To do this, I needed to age all of the copper that I had gathered. After the copper had slowly aged, I started to build my first storage room, a place to store all of my wood. Whilst making the roof, I learnt that if I used the stone cutter to make cut copper slabs, I would get 8 slabs for every block of copper that I had. After putting all of my wood inside of the storage room, I still didn't have much room, so I decided to make my stone storage. This building is going to be massive, so stick around until the end to see how it looks. The first thing that I did was lay out the floor of this building. It required me to get lots of gravel and dirt. The next thing that I had to do was get a bunch of tuff so that I could make the foundations of the storage room. After finishing the foundations, I wanted to set up all of the chests. This took me a very long time as I had to keep going back and chopping down more trees. Once all of the chests had been placed, I started to actually build the walls. This was a lot quicker because I had already gathered a ton of wood. Unfortunately, most of the footage for me building the roof went missing. Luckily, there is still some so that I can show you it here. I put everything into the chest and now I have a lot more storage for anything that I want to do in future. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you liked it, like it. Thanks for watching.